The Pietermaritzburg High Court has dismissed former President Jacob Zuma's bid for stay of arrest with costs. The judgment was handed down in a very brief sitting earlier on today. The former president is currently serving his jail term at the Escort prison on charges of contempt of court.
The application is dismissed with such costs to include those occasioned by the employment of senior counsel. I hand down the judgment.
Joining me now to talk about the developments surrounding former President Jacob Zuma as well as suspended ANC Secretary-General Ndou, I'm joined by political analyst Mr. Levy Ndou. Ndou, thank you very much for your time today. The ANC is once again at the center in the country as far as the politics are concerned, but also as far as the law is concerned. What are the implications of the legal ramblings that we're seeing at the moment on the ANC?
Afternoon, Tammy. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. I think these are quite difficult times for the ANC, in the sense that one would be expecting the ANC to be providing sufficient direction or necessary direction to society and bettering the lives of ordinary people. But the unfortunate part now is that we are always on a regular basis waiting to hear what the verdict is going to be for or against the ANC, members of the ANC in and out of court. And I think that is a situation that I think on the part of the ANC is quite unfortunate. Whether the court decision is for or against any member of the ANC, but at the end of the day, I think it has a potential to negatively damage the brand ANC.
And what impact does this have on the country and the country's interest, first of all, in politics, and the country's belief in the political structures being able to be effective when it comes to their own lives?
Well, I think if the ANC members would actually have implemented what they always spoke about of not taking their own party to the court, maybe they would have been able to find better means and ways to deal with their own internal issues as the ANC within the ANC. But the unfortunate part now is that you have the senior members of the ANC taking the party to court. And when I was listening to the judgment today, there are few other things that for me were very primary. I think the judgment, as well it was being pronounced, it also tried to provide a sense of the independence or the autonomy of political parties vis-a-vis the laws that we have in the country. And I think one thing for me that stood out in the judgment was to emphasize the fact that political parties themselves must be able to run their own affairs very independently, and they've also reaffirmed that when members join political parties, they join them voluntarily and they need to abide by the rules and regulations of those parties. And when you get members of the organization taking the organization to court based on these simple basics, then you'll agree with me that indeed there is a very, very big problem within the ruling party.
We had a conversation with suspended Secretary-General Ndou here on Newzroom AFrika not too long ago, and he made a statement. He said, you know, the African National Congress will always be, it will remain as a political party, but it's the people within the party that will come and go, that people's allegiance is actually to the brand ANC and not even so much to the individuals within the party. What is your understanding of that? Is that something that you agree with?
Well, I fully agree with the suspended SG that what should be primary is the organization itself. I further agree with the SG who says that members will leave and go because it is the members themselves would then actually tarnish the image of the organization. And also at the same time, it is the very same members and leaders of the organization who would be very much proud of being members, but lacking the basics of or organizational basics, which is something that I've actually picked up among certain leaders and members of the organization. For an example, Tammy, you don't need to put an emphasis to members of the ANC that when you join a party that has a constitution, you surrender your rights to that constitution because you voluntarily joined that organization. And those are the things that members, ordinary members of the organization, I expect them to know and actually follow that. But the circumstances now in the ANC, which is something that I always emphasize, is that lack of discipline and lack of understanding of the basics within the party is one big challenge that I think the leadership of the ANC and those who love the ANC must find ways and means to deal with them.
Let's talk about the impact of the former Secretary-General taking his own party to court, an extremely senior member. What impact does that have on the party as far as its own political supporters are concerned? And I guess they're the ones that really matter here.
Well, I think it has a huge impact. The first impact for me will be based on discipline. That it means that you would sit down, have agreements or have resolutions as a party, but some people would actually not be genuine about the resolutions or agreements that you take as a party. The Secretary-General of an organization is very instrumental because the SG has to run the administration of the party and then also ensure that resolutions of the party are actually being implemented. And in implementing the party resolutions, you need to follow the constitution. What then will be problematic is that you would have the Secretary-General who would want to challenge the clause and agreements of the party. That has a huge impact on the party because it affects implementation of the party resolutions. And at the same time, it also touches on matters that relates to cohesion within the party. And whether you like it or not, it is very clear that the ANC remains a divided party. And it is also very clear that there are members of the ANC who don't seem to be interested in ensuring that there is unity within the party. That has a very huge negative impact on the party. And that is the challenge that the leadership of the ANC, provinces, regions, and branches must find ways and means to deal with that.
And talking about impacts, what impact does all of this that we're seeing unfolding now with the suspended Secretary-General Ace Magashule, as well as what's happening with former President Jacob Zuma, how does that reflect on the current president of the African National Congress, Cyril Ramaphosa?
The leaders of the ANC and members of the ANC in general, when they discuss matters of the ANC now, they also have to say something about the courts. And for me, that is something that the ANC shouldn't be venturing into. It has got a huge impact on the leadership of Ramaphosa on few fronts. One is that the leadership of Ramaphosa must put an emphasis on the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law, which is what the ANC and the other political parties fought for. ANC members should always be educated to know and understand that the law in South Africa is supreme and all of us are supposed to respect the law, as we are also going to be treated the same way or equally by the laws. Also, Ramaphosa's leadership should be known for having tried its best to fight against corruption and ensuring that in the ANC there is renewal. That is one thing that Ramaphosa has to focus on. But I think also there is another temptation which is coming from within the ANC and outside the ANC. the temptation seems to be suggesting that Ramaphosa must intervene in legal processes where members are involved. And I know that Ramaphosa will not try to do so, because that will be contravening the Constitution. But it is important for the ANC to provide political education and knowledge to the general membership about the existence of the law and how the ANC and ordinary citizens have to relate with the law.
Mr. Levy Ndou, we'll leave it at that for this afternoon. Thank you very much for your insight. That's a political analyst there, Mr. Levy Ndou.